Hello, Wilson families. It's Thad. During this pandemic, we've certainly worked hard to create Wilson Connect Ed, our online learning experience for students. And we've also thought of how we can be helpful for parents. And we decided to start an Ask the Expert series because we have such wonderful experts in our own Wilson parent community. For our first interview, we're going to hear from a doctor who is an expert in infectious disease. Dr. Stephen Lawrence has been on the forefront of tracking and advising professionals during this important time. And I'm here with Dr. Stephen Lawrence, Wilson parent, also trustee. He's on the faculty of Washington University and assistant dean in the medical school, and his expertise in infectious disease. Dr. Lawrence, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Thad. Very happy to be here and to help talk about these really tough issues with the Wilson community.
Well, your work also is so appreciated, and we appreciate you being a strong partner in this effort. So early on in the pandemic, we heard that children generally weren't getting as sick as the adults from the virus. Is that still the case?
You know, luckily that is still the case. And, you know, this coronavirus has been very unusual in so many ways. And one of them that has been unusual and also reassuring for parents like myself is that this virus is relatively mild in almost all the children that do end up becoming infected with it. You know, children do absolutely get coronavirus, and they can certainly have some symptoms with it, cold symptoms. Sometimes they may have no symptoms at all. And very rarely, some children can become seriously ill with it, especially, you know, those if they have some underlying health problems. But for the most part, the vast majority of children who do get exposed and then get sick from coronavirus are relatively have mild illness. And so that does still hold true after now we've had a couple of million infections across the globe that we see that the impact is just really primarily on adults and especially older adults. You know, and that's one of the things that we absolutely are thankful that our children are spared during this pandemic. However, it's also important to recognize that because they still can have infection, and sometimes with very few, if any, symptoms at all, that there is a risk that children can then pass the virus on to those who are more likely to get sick, particularly, you know, grandparents that they might have contact with. And so this is one of those important aspects of this that makes it so complicated in how we are responding to things.
That's very helpful. Being a school community, certainly we're interested in that information, and also just knowing the kinds of things that we need to be careful with our children is very, very helpful. Thank you. You know, also we're hearing that we are supposed to be at the height of the illnesses in the St. Louis area. Can you talk a little bit about what might be expected in the decline, and perhaps what can we do to successfully contribute to that decline?
Yes, as of today, which as we're recording this is April 23rd, we have seen a steady increase in the number of people with diagnosed with coronavirus in the St. Louis region and the number of people who have been sick enough to be hospitalized. And it has been a steady increase, and we believe, based on all of the models that have been produced, that we are very near the peak level of activity in our community right now. And it is an unusual kind of pattern in that there has been, over the last couple of weeks, a relatively slow increase, which is different than what sometimes happens with explosive outbreaks, and somewhat different than has been seen in other parts of the country or other parts of the world. If we did nothing to try to prevent the spread in our community, you know, we would have seen the same thing. It would have been a very rapid increase in the numbers of people getting really sick. And it could have even gotten to a point of really overwhelming our healthcare system. But in the St. Louis region, we have been fortunate enough to have had while still a very important number and significant number of people who are really sick, it has not reached the level of overwhelming the healthcare systems, mostly because of the measures that this region has undertaken. There have been, St. Louis has responded very well and has done such a good job of the social distancing measures that have been recommended to help stop the spread of this. We can't stop it totally, but the efforts that have been done, all of these things that are making life hard right now and disrupting normal life, the fact that we're doing school remotely, all of these things are paying off. They're done for a reason, and the reason is to minimize the number of people who are interacting, because that's how this virus spreads, from person to person who are having direct interactions with each other. And the more we can minimize that, the more we can reduce the spread in our community. And St. Louis has responded wonderfully and has done a great job by taking these measures seriously. And the result is that we've had a manageable, but still serious, but manageable number of people who are really sick. Now, on the other side of it, if we do indeed, as we think, reach a peak in the next couple of days or in the very near future, it will also, though, take a while for it to drift back down again to where there is much less transmission and spread within the community. And that is why what we can do right now is to continue doing what we've been doing and to continue to be vigilant and to hang in there and to continue these measures for a little while longer so that we can buy more time for the virus to just go further and further reduced levels of spread, so that we can then slowly start to reopen our society and to really start to get back together again and to get things back to a state that is somewhat resembling where we were before. But it has to be a slow and deliberate process. If we just turned the clock back to 4 months ago and did everything like we did, then it would unfortunately certainly lead to a huge spike in the number of people sick, and then we'd have to start all over again. So the message is right now to continue these tough measures and to know that it's paying off and that all of this is worth it.
Certainly has disrupted our lives, but hearing from the medical community that the payoff, that's good to hear, and we need to stay strong through that. So thank you for those words. Also we referenced that we're adjusting to a new normal, with stay-at-home orders and social distancing that has been referenced. I think we all hope for a better normal. And in moving past this, are there things we can do, new habits or things that we can adopt that help lead to that better normal?
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that because it's going to take a while for us to be able to fully relax all of these disruptive social distancing measures that we have in place now. And we can start doing that, within the next few weeks, but we can't just go back to where we were. And so there's a reality that we will have a new normal, and it's going to change over time. And I would argue that this is also an opportunity to create a new and better normal. There were many things that have been occurring, in our society over time that has led to division and people, not always getting along really well. And this is an event that has affected the entire globe. Every single human is affected by this in it's a shared humanity. And it's an opportunity, as we try to stay connected while physically distanced, that we are more aware of connection. And this is an opportunity to emerge from this, perhaps with an idea of more about unity and how to bring people together rather than the old normal of such terrible division. And so I would suggest that we can grab this opportunity to find a little bit of a silver lining in this terrible pandemic and use it to create a new and better normal.
Wow, that's powerful, Stephen. I appreciate that. That's, thinking from our work at Wilson, we know that the idea of an academic mind and putting to work that intellect is so important, and we appreciate all that work that's going on, but we can never forget that piece that connects to our motto, make your mark a good one. And that idea of being together and better together is a great message. Thank you for sharing that.
And I think that there's no better place than Wilson to be able to give examples of how this can be done. The teachers have created a fantastic curriculum for our students, and with the My Mago that is ethos that our students are learning to live by. These are good starting points and a place to anchor this new and better normal.
Very well said. Stephen, thank you for taking your time from what is a tremendously busy day today, just like every other day you've had and are having. And thank you specifically for your work. You other healthcare professionals, government officials, and all the frontline folks are doing so much for our community, and we're just very, very grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you and all of the teachers for doing just as important work, and stay home and stay safe.
We will.